Mr. Murphy, under what circumstances, if any, would Labour give the British people a referendum on Europe?
I think at some point there will have to be a referendum on the European Union. Look, in Scotland, we've tussled with the issue of Scotland's relationship within the United Kingdom, and I think that will finally be settled, and the argument will be settled once we have a referendum on Scotland's membership of the Union of the United Kingdom. And I think that our relationship with the European Union will be settled once we have a referendum on that Union of Europe. Now, it won't stop the argument. My gosh, the day after we have a referendum in Scotland, the Scottish National Party will continue to argue for independence, and Eurosceptics after the referendum, of course, if the Yes campaign wins, will continue to be kind of fixated by Europe. But I think it is important, and in terms of a timeline, it's not for me to announce, but I think it is important that at some point we do have that referendum. And I don't think it's today, and I don't think it's within the next year, but I think at some point it should happen.
You say at some point there should be a referendum. Can you give us any indication of what some point means? And also, can you indicate what kind of referendum will it be? Will it be, for example, an in-out referendum?
I think David Cameron, as you said in your introduction, is toying with the idea, because he's got to go to his conference next week in a party that's really split down the middle.
I'm asking about you,
on
Mr.
European
Murphy.
policy. Yeah, of course, but that's my way of explaining. We're really not under that sense of pressure here within our party. We have a settled view in the Labour Party, which is that it's good for the United Kingdom to be engaged in Europe, not in the Euro, but engaged in Europe. So in terms of a timescale, look, we'll work through that, but I know that it cannot be, it shouldn't be, I think, in the midst of the financial crisis that's affecting the globe, but affecting Europe. I think we've got to get through this recession. We've got to get through the Euro crisis before we do that. Now, there's big change coming to Europe. The 17 nations of the Euro in themselves are going to have a closer union. Now, at the end of that, Europe will look differently. And as we come through that and we come through the financial crisis, I think after that, the time for a referendum would be upon us.
But you can't give me any idea of when it would be, and you can't tell me whether it would be an in or out referendum. But you can't tell me whether it would be an in or out referendum, can you? I mean, is there a policy? Yeah, that doesn't sound like any kind of policy.
I think you're right. That's a fair heckle, Andrew. I didn't give you whether it's an in or out. I think it should be. My preference would be an in or out referendum when that time comes. In the same way that Scotland will have an in or out referendum on the Union of the United Kingdom, the UK should have an in or out referendum about the Union of Europe. It's a sensible way to do it. But I don't today have a calendar with a date circled. I think we'll do it when the time's right, which means getting through the financial crisis, then having a proper debate and referendum conversation based upon the Europe that we want.
But if you look at not your timescale, because you haven't given me one, but develops coming up in Europe, it is likely that the Eurozone countries, maybe others, but certainly the Eurozone countries, will be moving towards a more federal type of Europe, of which I assume we won't be part, because neither you nor the Conservatives think we should join the Euro. So it seems to me there's almost three choices there. Should we join with the Eurozone and a federal type of Europe, or should we stay out of it but still stay in the European Union, under new terms it would have to be, or should we get out altogether? So unlike in Scotland, it seems to me you may have to have a three-choice question.
Well, I'm never a fan of a kind of pick and mix, multiple choice referendum sort of setup. You end up, as you know, with the option which may only gain 40% support, then being the winner in our referendum process. So I think in any referendum the question is important, and it should be set by the Electoral Commission. But instinctively I feel it should be more inclined towards an in-out referendum rather than a kind of multiple choice voting system that leads to kind of 4 or 5 choices, because there is a multi-speed Europe already. All this talk about two-speed Europe, it's already with us. We just happen not to be in the vanguard of that kind of European politics because we are outside the Euro. But I'm pretty clear, whenever the referendum comes, the Labour Party, almost kind of everyone in the Labour Party, probably along with the Lib Dems and British business and British trade unions, will be arguing that we stay part of the European Union because it's good for our economy and it's good for Britain. If I thought it was bad for Britain, I wouldn't want to be part of it, but it's good for us.
All right, we'll have the debate about that when we know where we're having a referendum. Mr. Murphy, thanks.
Of course we will.
For joining us.
Thanks, Andrew.